Welcome to TFP, the Theatrefolk podcast, the place to be for drama teachers, drama students, and theater educators everywhere. I'm Lindsay Price, resident playwright for Theatrefolk. Hello! I hope you're well. Thanks for listening. This is episode 147. You can find any links to this episode in the show notes at theatrefolk.com/episode 147. Happy New Year! Welcome to 2016. Are you ready for a brand new year? Personally, I feel that 2015 sped by really quickly, way too fast. But, you know, the older I get, that would be the general consensus I have of all of the years and all of the days. It's kind of like a freight train. And so we better enjoy every day, right? That's what we're doing. We're enjoying every day that comes. And I can tell you, nice segue, Lindsay, I truly enjoyed recording this podcast. See how I did that? So this episode is about directing musicals. And while we here at Theatrefolk don't specialize in musicals, we have one, Shout, an a cappella musical. Check it out. Shout, show notes, Shout in the show notes, episode 147. Just because we don't specialize in it, that doesn't mean that you guys don't specialize in it. And so in this episode, we have three teachers who put on musicals on a regular basis, and they talk about their experiences. So let's get to it. Hi, Kim. How are you?
Great, Lindsay.
Awesome. Okay, so how long have you been connected to musicals?
Oh, my goodness. Since I was in fifth grade.
Yes?
I've been in musicals, love musicals, and then in college, of course, I studied theater.
Yep.
Love it. Worked professionally. Love it. Musicals are my very favorite thing.
So what led you to become a teacher?
I always love sharing what I do, and my whole family, they're in teaching. And so, of course, I started by being a swimmer, and I taught people how to swim, and I thought, I'm good at this. And people listened to me, and so I started choreographing at a young age, working with big musicals, and then I just went into education, and I love it.
Well, so what was your first musical? Do you remember that?
That I was in?
Yeah.
Yes, I was in Fiddler on the Roof.
And who were you?
I was just one of the many children put in this show because children sell tickets, and I was put with random adults, and we were a family.
And what do you remember? Because I remember we had like lots and lots of records, and I remember singing away to musicals. So it was the songs that connected me first.
Well, what connected me was the director. I'm from a one stoplight town, and
yes.
in came this amazing woman.
Yes.
And so I followed her, but I was always singing and in front of people in my small little town. And then what connected me was that I got to sing and dance and act and move scenery, and I thought that was really cool in 1 2-hour period.
Yes, absolutely. I think there's something really magical about the way that things are expressed in a musical.
Yes, and as a small, younger person, my director, of course, used children all the time because they sell tickets. And I got to move scenery and do a cartwheel or, do something crazy like that. And it just hooked me to wanting to do everything in a musical.
When are you doing this year?
I'm doing Once on This Island.
Yes, why'd you choose it?
I chose it because I love the story.
Yeah.
It's kind of Romeo and Juliet meets the Little Mermaid, and
I love that.
It deals with either racial lines or class lines, and I think that's really important. We still deal with that today, and it's important to show that love wins it all, and if we all could just love each other, be kinder to one another, that the world would be a better place. Yeah. Hence, that's what Once on This Island, the Timoon character loves someone so much, and she ends up paying the ultimate sacrifice, but it broke a lot of tension between everybody because of what she did.
So what's your first step when you're directing a musical? Where do you go first in the process?
The very first thing I do is I look at my students, and I do that 2 or 3 years out, thinking, what will they look like in 3 years when maybe they're a senior and I could pick this show? Because you need to have some of your key players before you choose said musical. I always say you can't do Peter Pan unless you know you have Peter.
Right.
And I hope I have 2 or 3 come to auditions, but that's what I do. I look and I decide, and then I go out and I find who publishes it, and I ask to peruse the musical. Because maybe my idea of what it is isn't the same once I get the score and the script. So then I do that. And if I like it, then I ask for the rights, and I go ahead and start that process, because sometimes
It takes a while.
it takes a long while, and other times, if you're in a busy city or something, it might come through on a tour, and they will tell you you can't do it.
I think that's really interesting. It's a really good point, because we don't do musicals, but we get calls all the time where it's like, all right, my rehearsals start tomorrow, and they're just buying the rights. And it's like, you can't do that with musicals.
Oh, no. You have to put so many things in place.
Yes.
You need to go ahead and find your musical director who wants to know your vision as the director. How many chorus people are you putting in this number?
Yeah.
Or which lead is going to sing this if you're going to change it up? And then you need to find your choreographer, unless you can choreograph yourself. And then you need to start thinking, okay, what scale am I going to do? Is it going to be large? And how many people do I need to pull in? The prop people and the set people. And in high school, most of us are one-stop shops. So we reach out to our parents and say, hey, can you help build? Can you help find these costumes? And so that is a process that if you don't have that in place before you meet all of your eager young high school students, then you're kind of drowning.
Yeah.
So you need to go ahead and get that prepared.
Yeah.
So all of those facets are working while you're then teaching the students the material.
I think that's fascinating. I think even more, we talk about ensemble a lot in plays, but I think it's even more so in a musical, isn't it? That you need people.
Oh gosh, need so many people. And I'm a big believer, because of this director I spoke of, that the more the merrier, because sometimes some of us are afraid. And if we're in an ensemble, it's not so bad because there's a lot of people around us. And I love to put a lot of kids on stage because it's just fun to look at. I call it a 3-ring circus.
Yeah.
As long as the audience is focused and knows where to look, you've got something happening here, here, and here, and it just is so interesting.
Oh, I like that, and I like that image that it's focused, because it's a great image, but it's also purposeful.
Yes, absolutely. And so the ensemble understands that they are highlighting said lead or whatever is happening at that moment, but it's still, they create the whole picture, because that's what we're looking to do, is if somebody takes a still picture, that everybody's engaged and it's interesting to look at. And so that's what I try really hard to do with the millions that I put on stage.
So with this millions that you're putting on stage, what are some of the challenges that you face?
Oh gosh, challenges. Well, our young people these days are very busy. They take a lot of AP classes. They go on to early college. They're also maybe working because they need to. They have homework. Those kind of things are very challenging when it comes to rehearsals. It's also very challenging in the rehearsal that some of them have no basis of theater at all. And others have been in theater since elementary school, maybe private lessons, whatever it is. So then you have to mesh those two different groups and keep the accelerated ones interested and keep the brand new babies excited about what they're learning and not that they're overwhelmed.
Do you ever have to deal with diva behavior with musicals?
Yes. Yes, I have had some of those, and they're so difficult because they are talented.
That's the problem, isn't it?
You can be as talented all day long, but if your attitude and your work ethic stinks, it's so difficult to work with.
Yeah.
Yes, so I have had that. I've had to talk to the students. I've had to take away something from them, which then becomes a parental issue because they are a diva and they're so talented. Why would you do that? But I think in the world that if you're just not kind and have a good work ethic, nobody wants to work with you.
Well, that's the lesson to learn, isn't it?
Yes.
It's like if you're going to be talent does not trump kindness.
No, it does not.
Or ensemble.
Correct.
I think that's a really important lesson for the musical, particularly at the high school, because that notion of talent can really get inside you and go, well, I want this show to be wonderful, and she sings wonderfully, but...
Yes. And just hearing yesterday from a great speaker at this Fake conference said that we're all an ensemble and there are no stars here.
Yeah.
So we all need to know that we're working for the greater good, which is to make the audience have an experience and to feel something. And so whether you're third tree from the left or you're that lead singer, you need to all work together, because if you don't have all the facets, even if you don't have the props, if you don't have the costumes, it's not a whole piece to look at.
Yeah.
So that's what I try to teach that diva child.
Yeah. How do you promote vocal safety in young performers?
Oh, goodness. Well, I generally try to find a wonderful musical director that will help them learn that. And I say it all the time about the screaming and the singing improperly and things like that. So just kind of baby steps as we go through.
Do you think that at the high school level that musicals can be about process or product?
Oh, it's all about process. I think my professional self would love to go, look at my product. Yes, look at this product. Everybody come see it. And I've actually dealt with this. It's the process. It is that I don't have that most talented child sometimes, but boy, they're eager and they want to work. And so they might get the front, and somebody might sit out there and go, wow, the product is a little less than it should because I see that. But what they don't understand is the process of this said child or many have gone from scared to death to on stage to having a character to creating something wonderful. That, to me, it's all about the process. Of course, do we all want an amazing product? Yes. When I go up against my colleagues, I want to go, look at my product. But I will not suffer the process, because if they don't learn how to be good, kind people, if they don't learn how to come to rehearsal prepared, if they don't learn how to be in rehearsal, then I haven't taught them anything.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kim. That's
you're welcome.
Fantastic.
Okay, so I'm talking to Trisha Oliver. Hello, Trisha.
Hi, thanks.
Hi, and so you are a week away from opening Lion King Jr.
Yes, I'm very excited.
Yes, and what grades are involved in this?
We have this year 3rd through 7th that is part of this elementary production. I teach, or my productions are usually involved with 3rd through 12th grade, but this production I allow the 7th graders to be part of the elementary production. Normally it would switch off or cut off at 6th grade. But because of the leadership that I had come from my 6th grade class last year, I went ahead and told them that they would be allowed to audition. I only had 2 rising 5th graders, now 6th graders, audition and be part of the show last year. And so I felt like I needed that leadership to carry the show.
So how important is leadership when you're directing a musical?
In any production, whether it be a musical or a straight play, having those students who have been through the process before, who show the other students how the process works merely by modeling their behavior or what they're supposed to, what their expectations are of how they're supposed to act on stage, how they're supposed to act behind the stage. The musical's probably that extra level because there's the music. They have to learn the music. And so it's not just, hey, you have to be off book by this date, but oh my gosh, we have to learn the music as well. Although, does that make it easier because they're learning choreography that goes along with words and they know where to stand because of the music? I don't know, but I love having that leadership, having somebody else to help hold the hand of the people who are brand new or coming through. The 6th graders that I have this year, I only had 2 6th graders in our show last year, and I am so excited. But because of those 2 6th graders were so active and so energetic and so excited about being part of the production, this year I have 10 or 12 6th graders. And so you think about, out of all these 6th graders, only 2 of them was in the production before. So I have so many new kids to teach, hey, this is how this goes. And then you throw in the different aspects of it being a musical. It's a lot of work. So I really count on those kids to give, to model what how to react to what I expect of them.
I think that's awesome. I think that's lovely. How is it different to direct a musical for that age group as opposed to high school? How do you shift your focus?
Every moment is a teaching moment. Trying to wrap their head around putting the choreography with the music, I think, is the most challenging thing right now. In fact, the rehearsal last night, that was one of the things I was like, okay, we've got 3 more rehearsals to get this right until show. And they will. It's just repetition for them. And so recognizing that, yes, okay, by this rehearsal, they will have cut, or it's going to take, it took us 2 hours last week to run a 1-hour show, but then we talked about it and that was completely normal. Don't worry about it. It's going to be okay. And then the next rehearsal, they cut half an hour off, and then they got excited and got more focused. And then they cut 10 minutes off of that. And so they don't know that, oh my gosh, this is horrible. They don't, they think it's horrible. And I'm like, no, it's part of the process. It's educating them on the process. Whereas high school students, I think they've already been part of the process. They've already gone through it. They know the expectations. They know how it rolls. And even the new kids don't have as hard of a time transitioning. And if you want to bring in the peer factor, and oh my gosh, I've got to get up in front of my peers, and how's this going to go? And I'm really excited about the particular group I have this year, and they're all excited about it. They're not nervous about their peers watching them. They're excited to just be performing.
How do you promote vocal health in middle school for these guys?
We have a music teacher. Our music teacher is actually helping with this production, so that is helping me out a lot. So she is making sure that they are warmed up before we even get started. And we're talking about staying hydrated and staying healthy. Of course, it's really difficult in the elementary building, especially there's so many, sicknesses going around and stuff like that. So aside from bodily health, making sure that they understand that it's an instrument, that they have to take care of it. And, when you've got cheerleaders who are using their voice differently, who are trying to be part of this production, they just have to be educated. And it just takes every opportunity, whether it be in music class or whether it be at rehearsal, to talk to them about using every instrument, their mind, and working their scenes through their head, and then using their body and making sure their body's warmed up, and then making sure that vocally they're doing what they need to do. And it's interesting because I have to do self-check sometimes to make sure that I'm getting that across. And last week I could not get them to sing out, and I couldn't figure out why. And so I thought through the process myself, and I thought, well, they're getting their vocal warm-up from the music director, but they're not getting their vocal warm-up from the drama teacher. So we stopped and we did a projection exercise yesterday, and their vocal quality increased incredibly. In fact, another teacher who works after school came into the area where we were working, and she was like, they already sound so much better. What did you do different? So sometimes, it takes that constant reevaluations, looking at it. What can I do? How can I help them? It's not just all them. How can I help them become better on the stage?
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that it's not just the vocal warm-up from the music, but the vocal warm-up from the acting. I think that's an excellent point. And as we wrap up here, so what would be your one piece of advice for directing a middle school musical for those out there listening?
Don't be afraid. don't run away from it. I find that musicals energize a program in a way that straight plays don't, and trying to just educate the kids on why they love to sing. They love to get out there. It's sometimes if they don't feel comfortable getting up and singing individually, or they don't feel comfortable getting up and speaking individually, having that chorus that naturally comes with every musical gives them an opportunity to be introduced to the stage. So probably a third of my cast is brand new, and having that opportunity to just be part of the ensemble shows me what I can expect from them in the future, and shows them how much commitment do I want to make in the future to have a larger part.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Glad to be a part of it.
Hello, Roxanne. How are you?
I'm doing awesome.
I'm here with Roxanne Caravan. And Roxanne, and we're trying to talk about musicals.
Okay.
How long have you been directing musicals at your school?
16 years.
16 years.
Yes.
That sounds like that's a number that's kind of like
Yep.
And were you someone who like has always loved musicals?
Yes.
Yeah?
I mean, musical theater is something that's been with me forever. I started dancing and performing when I was like 3.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just family and just infused with that. So yeah, I've always been like very musical theater friendly from a really young age.
We had a recording of You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown on record. So that's how old. But that's what I remember. That's what I remember too. Like from being little is really connecting to the songs in musicals to the point where when I was in university, I had a roommate say to another roommate, like, does she listen to anything normal?
Yeah, right, exactly. I know.
And
So
okay,
true.
it is true. So what is it about musicals that's important at the high school level? Like, why musicals?
I think musical theater, it kind of connects everything. I think it's a great connection putting a musical together, you're pretty much incorporating all, of the different aspects of theater. And I think it really challenges students on all of those levels.
Well, because it's like there's so much that has to go on. Do you find that, how do you deal with students who aren't the triple threats?
Not a problem. I mean, my whole thing is that I believe that you can, you take what strengths you have, but also I tell kids, don't just work on what is your strength. Pick your weakest place and work on that. And I think that is a combination of all of those things. I think it really helps kids because of the, from a performance standpoint, and in the understanding of, musical theater is, singing, dancing, and acting. So you have to incorporate all those things. But on a high school level, you'll have a few kids that, can kind of conceptually put all that together. But you're going to have kids that, they might have 2 out of the 3.
Yes.
Or, they're not going to have 3 out of the 3, and they may never have 3 out of the 3, but make them feel like that they're able to, work on something that is a weak area and to strengthen themselves so that they have a sense of accomplishment.
It kind of sounds like because I know when I see musicals, it always feels at the high school level that it's product, like it's very product driven, and I think that there kind of has to be more of that in a musical than in a play, because because there are so many elements. But I really like that idea of, okay, look, here are 3 things that we have to do, so just pick one and work on it, right? Instead of and that's your accomplishment.
Yeah, no, I mean going back some years, we did 42nd Street, which is a huge show, and obviously, you have the element of, tap dancing, and everybody in that show needs to be a tapper. Well, not everybody is a tapper, but, just being able to take that as a real specialized element and to teach that to kids. And it was really neat because it's one of those shows I kind of never forget because the amount of time that goes into putting together a show like that. But I would have boys that never had a pair of tap shoes on in their lives, but there were kids that would sit and they would just for an hour or 2 hours, and they would just practice because they wanted that accomplishment. And and it ended up being a really awesome and productive show. And honestly, I had some really talented kids that were that could cover all of that, but boy, there was a lot of kids in that cast who had never done, but when we looked at the end product of it, and they felt mighty accomplished after they had done that.
Well,
and it was awesome, and it really did, and it came together. So give them a challenge. I'm a challenge girl.
Yes.
I'm a challenge girl.
Wow. Let's talk about it. So, I know Roxanne and I know each other because I threw a cappella musical at her, and that's what I remember from that experience. I remember just sort of throwing it at you, and because of your demeanor, just assuming that everything was going to be okay. And I remember going, yeah, are you saying at some point, yeah, that was a challenge, and there were some more challenging than others. But I also remember when I talked to the kids that they said, I said, well, this was a very challenging thing. Did you ever think you couldn't do it? And they said, no, Caravan believed in us from the beginning. So if she believes in us, then I'm going to believe in me. Yeah. And what an amazing thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of have, I have this one philosophy, and I always tell this to kids anytime, whether we're going to competition, when we're doing a show, and I say to kids, I said, first of all, I said, I will never, ever, put you in a situation that you do not feel that you are comfortable with, that you are rehearsed enough, that you will ever have the sense
stress
of stress and nervousness. Because I say there's two kinds of stress. Well, let me back up. Two kinds of nervousness as a performer. I said there is nervous that kind of like, oh crap, I'm not, I don't feel prepared. I don't feel like I spent enough time with this. Did I really, delve into it and memorize it, or do we practice this enough, or where we're at? And then there's that really awesome nervous that you get, before the curtain opens, and you're nervous, but you're excited nervous, but you're not worrying about I'm not ready.
What you've done to this point.
Right. And I say, and that's the one thing I always say to kids. I'm like, I don't believe in nervous number one. I said, because I promise you, I will give you the tools
to be prepared.
As long as you take it. You can't force kids to do anything, but that you do that. And I say that about shows, and even when we go to competition, because I feel from, because we do a lot of the thespian competition stuff, and I feel like, I don't want you to get up in front of a group of people and ever feel that you aren't comfortable and prepared in what you do. And I think that's huge.
That's
huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
What show are you doing this year? What musical are you doing this year?
We just finished doing Shrek Junior, like the junior version of Shrek, which we had done because we do a summer camp program. It was super fun. But we're doing the Addams Family, the musical.
Yes. So what's your first step when you are preparing as a director, and specifically to direct a musical? What's your first step?
I
pray.
Spend way too much time with the script.
Yes, well, that's good.
Tons of time with the script. Gathering a production team of people together, and really prior to doing anything, I think on the high school level particularly, you have to realistically look at what you have. I never, ever would pick a show just because, that's a great show, that's a popular show, or, I really want to direct that. It's like I base a show on the talent that I know that I have, and that I'm able to generally be able to cast the show within reason. And I think that's really important as a director. Especially in a high school. Right. It's not like you're opening up auditions. So,
it's who
you've already got. And sure, you have. It's great. We open our auditions to our whole school too. But I look at what who's in my program and say, okay, well, yeah, I could cast that show. So that makes me right off the bat, I'm comfortable. I have a sense of comfortable. Yeah. As a director, knowing that I'm able to do that, and and that it's going to also, I think when you're picking a musical for your school and community, I also think about, who's going to come see the show? What are you going to get in the seats? Because there's shows that I know I can cast, and there's shows that I know that I love or that would be great. Like, I'll put it right out there. Like this year, I was between Addams Family the musical and Kiss Me Kate. Now there's two opposites, right?
Very much.
That's like the two opposites of the spectrum. And I looked at Kiss Me Kate and I was like, okay, yeah, I can cast Kiss Me Kate. But is that going to work for my school and community, and particularly for the school? And I said, probably not. And we're really trying to serve our school and community, especially because we are a public school. So I do. That's a big consideration for me.
Yeah. What's your balance between looking at the text and looking at the music when you're in rehearsal?
I would say, I hire a musical director, so, we generally do, music first. For me, particularly if I'm looking at it, I would say probably pretty even with a musical. I think it depends on the musical.
Yeah.
Because, some... if it's like last year we did something that was more musical play based, so really the text was really more important. Well, I don't want to say more important. Okay, if you looked at a scale of, if you were doing a 0 to 100, probably it was text. The text aspect of it was very important because the plot was driven much heavier, and then of course you have your musical element to it. But I think it really depends on, from a show-to-show basis, because some things are heavier one way or another, but I kind of base it on, musical play versus musical comedy, or, that
How long do you
thing.
rehearse? What's your usual rehearsal?
I don't like super-duper long rehearsals. Like the whole... to me, I like to put it out there and get it done, so we generally... I'm going to say, I try to... no more than 6 weeks for a full musical. I'm personally, I've done 4 and 5 weeks. We just go in there and we go at it.
Well, it's the kind of thing where the time that you give them is the time that they take, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So and I like that. So so that I've never done I guess I'm lucky because I'm able to use my space and I'll just block my space off and I'm able to use it. It works for me. It doesn't always work. It depends on people and what setting they're in. Some people, if they have to rehearse longer, I just feel like, that if you hit it with the intensity, especially with musical theater, and also there's a point where you're working with kids. They kind of, I don't want to say they don't get bored, but it's there, and there's a point where they need an audience now for acknowledgement.
Yeah.
It's that acknowledgement of audience, and I feel like I think with students, I think that happens a little bit faster.
What are three important things that students to encourage students when they are in a musical? What are 3 things that students need to do or be aware of? Or
well, I always say I'm a big do your homework kind of a girl when it comes to anything with theater, and I really stress the fact that you need to make sure that you understand the text. Whether it's the text or it's what's in the text, even in the music, and doing your homework. And I think that especially, when you're working with all different types of musical theater, it's like, go through and really, if you don't understand a phrase, you don't understand, if there's some, do your historical background checks, do your, if you don't know a word, look it up. You don't know a phrase, look it up. If it's some sort of like colloquial expression, what does it mean? Because that can make or break the way you deliver something. And we don't always have time. It's not like you're in, it's not like in professional theater, like, oh, let's sit down and do table work for, for any length of time. You don't have that. Well, at least
luxury.
I don't.
There's not
I
that
don't
luxury.
have that luxury. So I don't have that luxury. So for me, that's like number one. And, and again, that's like with text, and that's music or acting. And then, of course, there's making, once you've been given something, you own it. And I'm really big on that. Once you've worked with your musical director, your music, you own it. Now rehearse it. Once you've, your choreographer comes in and you've, sets a piece, you own it. And I give ownership.
Yep.
I'm into that's
your part.
It.
Yep.
You own it. It's blocked, you own it. And, and to me, that's really important. And of course, ultimately with anything is, you work together as a team and an ensemble, that we're all here for the same reasons. Remember that, because you're talking about kids, drama, it's like, trying to keep as much of that to a minimum, because, when you're working with, kids and they're working together and we're working long hours and all of that sort of thing, ultimately, things happen. Things happen, and you have to deal with that stuff. So those are, for me, those are probably the really
biggies.
My biggies, yeah.
And how do you get kids to keep care of their voice?
I'm my phrases, and my kids all know it. Your body is a temple. I say it all the time. They know it. I'm really, I tell them to stay out of really loud places. Like, don't eat lunch in the cafeteria. Your decibel up. Don't stand in front of each other and scream at the top of your lungs. I'm like a healthy food kind of a girl. I don't allow kids anything but like water and herbal tea in my environment when we're working on a show. Mm-hmm. So a kid comes in with a soda, and if they're a new kid, kids will say, "You better get rid of that because she'll dump it out." Yeah. And even healthy foods and snacks and stuff like that. So I'm just really big on, making sure that I said, this is your moneymaker. It's your instrument. You play in the band and you take care of your violin. Well,
take care of your
body. Take care of your whole body and your instrument, because that's it. That's it.
I think I brought chocolate in when I gave it to the kids, and I think that was the hugest. That was the no-no.
Well, I'm a little bit. We do because we do these long, we'll do these marathon weekend rehearsal things, like Friday nights, all day Saturday, whatever. Because we do, like I said, a shorter kind of a rehearsal thing. So we do, which is kind of cool. We think it's kind of cool, but we do we get parents to rotate and do meals, and the kids will pay, and it's inexpensive because it ends up being cheaper than we're taking a dinner break and everybody go buy some McDonald's or whatever, or some junk. So we do a lot of that. So we kind of incorporate into it that we actually try, when we are doing long rehearsals, to actually make sure that the kids are eating healthy.
Eat healthy.
Yeah, eat
no
healthy.
chocolate.
Yeah.
What would you, on last thing, someone who's loves musicals, is afraid of doing it with their students, what's one piece of advice? Other than do it.
Yeah, I know, just do it. I don't know, start small. I think starting small. Nowadays, there's a lot of, especially with the junior productions, which there's a lot of really good pieces of theater that are part of that you can work with, or anything that's on a smaller scale that, or do your own thing. We do a lot of things like adaptation-y type stuff and have the kids play around. So if you're not ready to hit it on your own, with a big show, then, do something creative on your own.
Sounds good. Thank you, Roxanne.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Roxanne and Kim and Trisha. It was a pleasure talking to all three of you. Before we go, let's do some Theatrefolk news. Okay, so we focused on the musical genre in this podcast, but wait, we don't stop there. This month on the Theatrefolk blog, we are focusing on the voice. Breathing exercises, tongue twisters, projection, writing for a character-specific voice, and promoting vocal safety in young performers. You can check out all these great posts and exercises on our website, where? Theatrefolk.com/blog. And you can also find the links in the show notes, theatrefolk.com/episode 147. Finally, where can you find this podcast? This awesome, amazing, wonderful podcast? Well, let me tell you. We post new episodes every second Tuesday at theatrefolk.com and on our Facebook page and Twitter. You can find us on youtube.com/theatrefolk, and you can find us on the Stitcher app. You can also subscribe to TFP on iTunes. All you have to do is search for the word Theatrefolk, and that's where we're going to end. Take care, my friends. Take care.